we're seeing Bank being banned out first by Homeland Nova. That tells me a lot about what they want to accomplish, right? They like these more tight set maps where you don't necessarily have to drone everything out. You can go ahead and phase check things and be really quick about your attacks. Girlboss is going to ban out, excuse me, they're going to ban out Clubhouse. And what that tells me is exactly the same thing, really. Clubhouse is one of those scrim maps, quote unquote. And Clubhouse is obviously a sort of safe haven for anyone that wants to play aggressive, but it also allows for a little bit of strategy as well. So overall, we're seeing a little bit of a different strategy between the map bans. And there you go, Scott. We're not going to be seeing Cafe. God bless your soul.
Yes.
Cafe has been taken off the board, my friend.
Oh, I could cry. I could actually break down and cry right here. Thankfully, I haven't really had to cast Cafe that much recently. I actually am kind of interested to see how these women would fare in playing a Cafe map, because I'm mostly used to collegiate scenes or the T3 scenes, so I'd love to see how they fare out. But the next band we'll go through, it'll be Girlboss taking out Coastline, so not really favoring a TDM style in that map. Obviously, another map that's up on the board that is kind of TDM-centric is going to be Chalet, actually my favorite map to play. And actually to cast, which will be the next one to fall. So Homeland Nova says, hey, we also don't want this map. We don't want a TDM style. We don't want something that's typically attacker favored, except for something a little bit more tried and true. That's going to be the rest of the map pool. And I think now as Girlboss kind of get to pick up what they really want to play down. And that's going to be the fact they're banning out Oregon, which is going to set themselves up for, I guess, a little bit of extra help now as they come in and decide on Villa. One of the tried and true maps, like we talk about, the T3, T4 scene. Biggest things are going to be Clubhouse, Oregon, and Villa in recent times have stepped into that. And I think Villa is a very good map for these two teams that are very well regimented, have a lot of strategy behind their book. It's going to be really interesting to see how they fare in this absolute slugfest of a round.
I'm wondering what Strona is going to be able to do, right? There's so much flexibility as far as where you can enter on Villa. You can obviously, send it up the Astro stairs if you wanted to go up against a trophy defense, or maybe you send it up the main stairs if you're attacking onto the Aviator Games bomb site. But maybe Strona is going to play a little bit different of a role. Maybe she's going to try and feed into her second entry a little bit and try to keep those entry stats up there, Scott, because going 9-1 on the entry, that's insane. That is something I definitely wish I could achieve in my own games, but I dropped a couple donuts today and I decided that I was going to retire from Rainbow Six Siege for pretty much the rest of my life, my friend.
I think a lot of people are doing that in recent times, so I think let's be honest here. This season's been very rough for a lot of people, but I'm super excited to see how this game's going to fare out, like you talked about when it comes down to different strategies on this map. There's usually about three respected strategies when it comes to taking the tertiary bomb site, which is one you can definitely throw up there. That dining and kitchen sites, you obviously have the second floor taking control of master bedroom, taking control of walk-in closet, clearing the floorboards, doing a couple of bits of renovation here and there, and getting that, aerial play to try and play vertically. And another option is to do that very swift rush actually through supply, through pantry, and taking that stairwell, rushing into kitchen and rushing. But I've seen some other strategies in recent times of taking control of central hallway, having sightlines from Skylight, and actually just swiftly stepping into Memo and then pushing from that direction. And so foregoing the two well set in stone strategies that we've seen prior and really stepping into a new strat. And I've seen it work all three times I've seen it pulled out, and it was pulled out with lopsided results. I mean, there were rounds where it was flawless for one of them, and then the other two, I think they only lost one person. It's just not something that most teams anticipate, and it's something you can kind of just throw up there to spice up the round a little bit and kind of set the pacing.
Something that we love to highlight, speaking of those three different strategies that you can approach Trophy or the top of the or the second floor of Villa, is that Girlboss are one of the most strategic, one of the most regimented teams that I've seen inside of Eris so far, and they really depend on their teamwork. They've been playing with each other for such a long time, and I know Jahui is a very good IGL. She can read the map with the best of them. Also, just activating Terra, making sure that she's sitting comfortable inside of her roles, and obviously playing off of that information. We talk about not only the attacking side, because that's very much important in its own right, but also just the defensive side, right? Playing off the information, making sure that all of your teammates are involved in the different defenses is definitely going to be key for Girlboss here, because if Homeland Nova can get Strona going, she excels in just isolating the many different roamers, or maybe just finding these crazy site picks. If they can isolate Strona with their teamwork, that is going to spell a lot of danger for Homeland Nova. But if Strona does her magical thing like she usually does, then it's going to be tough for Girlboss to respond to. I've seen them struggle with a little bit of pacing.
Yeah, when you've got a player that has such a different, I guess you could say, such an extreme level of kill entry differential, you got to be really wary about your roam game on the defense. And that's going to be something that's going to be really up in the air. Do you just full send with the roam game? A lot of teams are trying to hold planes and games with a bit more of an anchor style. They're not really extending over towards that master bedroom side. Really only one player in astronomy with a rotation to step back through trophy to then head through classical hall. And a lot of teams are finding that to find success. But a lot of teams still think, hey, we can still extend. We know we can find these picks. We can be aggressive. And I think that's still a viable strategy, especially if you feel really comfortable. And Alibi has been falling into that role as an operator so well. That MX4 Storm with a 1.5, it is a beast to contend with. I mean, when you face an Alibi and you see them in hallway, it is not going to go well. My hands shake when I see an Alibi now. I'm like, uh-oh, all right, I'm just going to duck around the corner and hope they can't wallbang me here because I know I'm screwed. It's over. That weapon is too strong. It's got that way better scope now. And none of these players on either of these rosters are going to let up an easy kill like that. And that's going to be something that's very worrisome when you try to entry in as an attacking team. You have to be very wary about those roaming players. And that's definitely going to slow down an attack. And that's what you need to do on Villa.
Obviously, the MX4 is so strong, like you were alluding to, but I also want to see a little bit of Mozzie play, right? That is an operator that I feel has, gotten back into the meta and has, reared its ugly head as one of the strongest operators that we have inside of Siege. And it comes down to, and I hate to say it, but it comes down to that 1.5 scope, just like Alibi, right? Maybe that P10 Roni does a little bit less damage per bullet, but it is still absolutely insane there, Scott. And you also get to deny a little bit of that drone information as well. So really slowing down the attacks is going to be the biggest thing here on Villa. The attacks are already going to be slow enough, and I'm looking forward to this one, Scott, as we're going to head into the game here. And this operator ban phase is going to be crucial, right? This is going to really set the tone for the rest of our game.
Back in Villa. I'm so happy to be here. Girlboss will not have their first ban. It'll be Homeland Nova, who's starting off on the defense. They'll take out that. This is expected here, Santos. Nothing's, going to be strange. Nothing dangerous just yet. But the second one's really we can throw it out. Do you ban Flores, get rid of their Rotero drones? Do you maybe go for something a little bit more like a target ban? Do you just stay tried true? It's going to be the Rotero drone wielding Flores. That's a smart decision, in my opinion. He's too viable. He's got too much utility to remove out any sort of shields and things of the sort. And that kind of also gives us a glimpse of what maybe Girlboss wants to bring in the defense, which is probably going to be shields. They're going to remove out the Black Mirror, which in its own way is a shield, but maybe they don't want to face it too much. So I'm predicting a Vulcan shield-wielding Goyo actually to come through, and that's going to be a great way to keep an attacking team at bay. But Girlboss will have to wait till the second half until they're able to utilize that, and I guess Homeland will have their pick of the litter now as the last ban, which will in fact be a Valkyrie. Nothing shocking. Denying information is key to the game.
We talked about it all the time during the pre-show, right? Like denying information is going to be huge, and it also, that bites into Homeland Nova's defense a little bit. You're not going to see as aggressive of a Strona, maybe. I'm also thinking the roamers are maybe going to have a little bit harder of a time in terms of just getting these free kills. Maybe they're going to have to lurk around for a little bit longer than they're comfortable with. And overall, I love the ban phase, especially for the defense, right? We're seeing the Mira ban as well as that Valkyrie ban. A lot of information has been taken away, but you mentioned it yourself too. Those shields are going to play a huge part because that's really your best form of free information that you can act on immediately. Having those deployable shields, obviously you can have someone sit behind it and then you're just going to fire away and do some absolute bits.
Now, Santos, a lot of people are saying throw the shields back to, the old way before they got the obvious window slits. And I kind of agree to it to a degree. I think that it would definitely rechange the game and kind of bring things back to where it initially was. But I'm also of the opinion that they're way too fun to play with and use. And I'm a casual warlord. I think you know this, Santos. I have fun in the game. I do not like playing ranked. I like enjoying my afternoons, so I like to sit there casually and play. And having shields like that and having the ability to see through those slits is just so much nicer than everything else. And I think that it's definitely going to be something interesting to see. I think we have to have a rehost, unfortunately. So we'll jump right back to Cassius. You'll have to stare at my face for just a little bit longer, but at least you'll get to see Santos' face to kind of even it back out.
I don't know what you're talking about, Scott. You have the best face in terms of just the people that you're seeing on the screen right now. Do you see the focus that you have on your mic on your
This
camera?
is
Like
all of special
you.
effects, right? This is all special effects. I mean, I don't know
Oh,
what you're talking about.
excuse me. Let me go talk to the hair and makeup department and make sure that I get my right doing moving forward. But you're looking absolutely amazing there, Scott. It's an honor to be here with you. We've been waiting to share the desk. We were talking to CDC in the background. We've been waiting to do this for a while now, and we finally got the opportunity. And honestly, I'm ecstatic right now.
Yeah, I'm super excited. It was funny because we mentioned it as like a one-off yesterday, saying Santos, if for some reason Grace has to drop out, jump on that so fast, get in on that. Come on, we got to get a cast together. And she unfortunately wasn't available today, a last-minute thing. And Santos was quick on the draw, jumped in, put his hat into the ring, and picked that up. And I was super excited. I actually didn't know that you had picked it up until about 30 seconds before I jumped into the call. Right when we jumped into another voice call, and you were like, "It's me," and I was like, really? Because it still said a question mark. The Twitter post still had gray. So it was up in the air. I really and truly, I had no idea. But I tell you, I could not be more ecstatic with the outcome.
Man, it's definitely just my reflexes showing there. They don't show in my rank games ever. They don't show in any FPS that you've ever seen me play. Scott, you know this, right? Like I'm terrible at reflexes. I'm terrible at calls. I've let you get killed in like the Vanguard beta a million times and you yelled at me for it. But at least we're gonna be yelling at screens instead of yelling at each other right now.
I mean, we're yelling in each other's direction, kind of, right? I mean, you can classify it, yeah. We got the chemistry off the screen and on the screen, and that's really where it matters. That's what's important. And I think for the biggest factor here is coming into this is I feel comfortable with you, and that's gonna be the great part about the cast. We can just throw it back and forth, have a fun time, really, have these players show their best. And I think that's exactly what they're going to do. And with Villa and with the little pieces of operators that I saw there for the short glimpses that we had, I did in fact see a Goyo being taken. And like you mentioned, those shields are extremely strong. You can place one obviously by lamp. You have the option to place one at corner 90 hall. I'm not sure why you would place it there. A lot of people place doorway leading inside of games, which is also a very smart decision. But when placing there, you have to make the decision. Do you face it towards that central hallway, or do you face it, central staircase, or do you actually face it towards landing? And I think that it's kind of a split decision. If you face it towards 90, then you have the option of denying anyone from that 90 section. But there's already a desk there, and you can hold that a little bit more aggressively. But in the other way, if you lose that first shield over by that staircase, then you're kind of screwed when it comes down to denying a push. So you have to be really, you have to think everything through, and you have to think about these steps and the repercussions of the actions that you have. And it's hard to do it when you toss it up. What is your team strongest at? Are you able to hold that staircase, or are you able to hold 90? And I think it's definitely going to come up to individual players. What do you think, Santos?
I mean, the flexibility from who was on the tag. I'm blanking out right now. Who was on the tag?
I'm pretty sure it's Gugu, right? Am I blanking out now too? Now you have me questioning everything, Santos.
Okay, well, regardless of that, right? Like it all depends on how you want to structure your defense. Maybe you've done a little bit of VOD review. Maybe you know that they're going to aggressively take towards the main landing, and you're going to direct your Goyo shields that way. Maybe put a little bit more utility in that sort of area. Or I love holding the 90 hallway. It's one of my favorite positions to play inside the siege, just because of how dynamic you have to be inside of it. Maybe you put it over there as well. It really just depends on what the rest of your teammates are going to do. And maybe you call a little bit of a wild card. Obviously, all of these teams have their own respective strat books, but maybe you're reading into something later on in the round and you're like, hey, this shield is going to work out better in this position compared to maybe 90 landing, or whatever you want to place it in the first place. So I think we're going to see a lot of adjustments. I know that Girlboss is one of the smarter teams. I know that Homeland Nova have a really solid IGL as well.
I think one of the big things I'm worried about, and we mentioned that previously, Santos, we talked about strategies when you're worried about an individual player that's getting such a huge differential when it comes to opening kills, going 9-1 or 8-1, whatever it came down to. You got to be scared of that player, and that's going to be how you can adapt as a defensive side when facing off against that. Even as an attacker, try to deny their roam game or their anchor presence, whatever it may be, deny that. And you're going to take a lot of VOD review to do that. And I think that you have to be able to do that. In these two rosters, with the fact that they're going, positive at this point in the league, they're doing preparation. They're preparing themselves. They've got VOD reviews. They're working out strategies. And at this point, it's going to really come down to the mind game. Did your strategy booking and all the strategy you cooked up against the other team, the opposing side, is it going to be enough? Or did they completely change their strategy between last week and this week and just toss it up in the air for you to decide halfway through? And that's where being the team that can adapt faster is going to win you a couple rounds. These first few rounds are kind of a feeling out period. You got to figure out how your opponent's going to move, what they're going to play, what type of strategies they bring to the table, and then you adapt. And it just becomes a battle of who can adapt faster.
I would say too, right, Scott, to add on to your point, that both of these teams are obviously finding a lot of success in the league right now, right? Homeland Nova, have only lost once. Girlboss have yet to take an L inside of the league. So maybe we see, hopefully we don't see this. Hey, hopefully these two teams can stay dynamic. But something that I'm watching out for is maybe one of these two teams being stuck in their ways, because, you know, we mentioned how the strat book works and how, you know, all of these teams have the sort of way that they want to go about things, right? But it's going to come down, like you said, to all of that adjustability, all of that flexibility, and making sure that you're giving the other team some different looks. Otherwise, I'm expecting both of these teams to read into the fact that maybe you're showing the same thing twice, or maybe you are posturing up the exact same way. But overall, we've seen this take over and over again, Scott. I love looking at this Girlboss take from the master bedroom side because their drone work is just so solid. Their entries know how to play very well amongst each other. And overall, I think Girlboss, I'm expecting big things from both of these two teams here.
You know, obviously the big fight right now for control is going to be focused on this master bedroom side in this northeast corner. Because see, Lioness, she's already stepped inside master bedroom, is looking to maybe contend. They're getting pings as well. They know the opposing player is sitting near that reinforced wall. Secret's not so secret, you would say. And they're going to really try to flush out that opponent, and I think that's the biggest factor. So they do have somebody master bedroom. The master bathroom, I'm sorry, that's Lioness. She's made the rotation. Terry's assisting from that actual astronomy window. They've got a crossfire set up, but it's a very limited one. You can only really take control of astronomy, and you have really no way to dive in with any level of safety to actually push astronomy with control and try to actually fight the side of trophy and statuary. So a bit of a mind game. Nades will be tossed, unfortunately, for the side of Chihui. Tex will be the one who finds the kill. They won't be able to escape anyways. Tex finds a second now with a Lioness. It's just that one player of Terra who was stuck on the rappel, but a turn to Daddy Satan does not last for much longer. Tex will be down, but is in a definite position of safety. It's going to take a lot to be able to clean up that kill.
So much pressure being brought on from Homeland Nova, and it's basically off solely from Tex, right? She was holding the different angles inside of Trophy, and now Tex has made her way downstairs where she can be safely picked up. And if you're Girlboss, what are you going to do here? Obviously, there are so many things that you're going to have to adjust now that you've lost not only the manpower per se, but you've also lost the hard breacher in Jihui. So overall, just some very dire straits that you found yourself in if your Girlboss is not how you wanted to start off this game. With Homeland, well, they play a lot on momentum, and they sort of depend on that to keep on going, keep the vibes high, as one might say. And overall, the vibes are definitely low for Girlboss right now.
Yeah, I'm not sure why Girlboss. If you're going to bring 4 nades in, and this is something for any team to try and take into, if you're going to bring 4 nades in the pocket and have those available, then pushing in from main entrance is probably the best way to go. You can toss the nades from below, get a couple of the floorboards, and create those kill holes through these floors, and kind of add a level of verticality without needing a third floor to actually go up on top of, which isn't even an option anyway, since they weren't incapable of doing that. And those set in stone roaming players on the opposing side were a little bit too much to contend with. And already we're down to that last 15-second period. It is a 1v4 because Secret did manage to find one laying down prone inside a vault. And unfortunately for Lexus K, she's in a bad spot. There's not really anywhere to go. They have one player fighting from study. They're trapped in landing, just trying to stay alive, keep that KD up, still trying to keep a firefight going. But Strona says, no escaping from this one. Take the L. We're heading into the next round.
We've seen this Girlboss take from the master bedroom side many a time, so I want to chalk that up to basically just being a lot of VOD review from Homeland Nova. You know, and you've read into the Girlboss tendencies, and I think that's exactly what we saw there. Now, granted, Tex just pulling off the magic inside of the trophy, or inside of trophy, was absolutely the highlight of that round. She went absolutely insane on that Mozzie, which, like we were talking about in the pregame, has the 1.5 available, but nah, she said, hey, I'm going to bring the red dot and I'm going to force you guys to come and kill me. And we saw a lot of individual peeking from Girlboss as well. That's why Tex was able to catch those 3 kills. And by that time, really, there was nothing you were going to be able to do. Up against a 2v5, unless you were going to isolate a bunch of those 1v1s, you really had no shot.
Yeah, and isolating players is kind of one of the key focuses you need to do. And there are some strategies where setting up crossfires and fighting a 2v2 or some even an uneven engagement not favoring you are definitely viable, and they're options. And Girlboss just didn't set themselves up for that. They had that initial crossfire. I talked about it when they were in Master Bathroom and one was repelling in. But when you have Tex with that Roni, like you said, was going to be a huge issue, it in fact was. But it wasn't on the Mozzie like it is this round. It was in fact on the Aruni. The Roni is kind of the play around the board, but they're actually picking up the Commando, which I think is not the best decision, but is actually my favorite gun in this game. I don't know if you knew that, Santos. I love the Commando only because I can say they're taking command of this round if they start to pop off. And that sets up everything for me. I will build my entire personality around puns like that. You think I won't enjoy a moment like that? Moving on. Homeland
is your entire casting repertoire just puns?
It is, yeah. I mean, have you seen my reel? It's just me cracking jokes for over half. I had more fun editing that and laughing at my own jokes.
Dude, like I actually did not watch the casting reel. No disrespect, I just didn't watch it. But I'm expecting more of those jokes as we continue on throughout the night. But Ava already feeling a little bit of the pressure over towards the Sunny side. Obviously, those guns are trained from Girlboss. We see Lioness already getting a little aggressive, and Alexis K just trying to catch Ava on that rotation. But overall, this is some very well structured play, and Ava also has Tex for a little bit of coverage as well. So she can really sit pretty behind this game's bar, and they're going to have to force her out of there, especially with Tex providing that little bit of backline support.
Obviously, for Girlboss, they still haven't managed to use any of their nades, and that was a kind of a problem they had last round as well. They managed to use one and toss it out, but it really was just kind of relegating it out. There was no real hope behind it, and it kind of just fell apart a little bit too early. And unfortunately for the side of Homeland, their roaming Ella that came in with that shotgun was just not able to do the job. Shut down a little bit too early. A great success there for Terra, and now it's going to be actually a good situation now for Girlboss as they lead in terms of numbers for the first time in this matchup. But with the last minute and 30 seconds underway, I mean, Homeland have the ability to turtle up, sit safe. They know they're not coming from Master Bedroom. Girlboss needs to have at least one player rotate in that direction and stay alive if they really want to flush out Homeland's defense. And it doesn't look to be that they're actually making that decision. They're not rotating. They're sticking where they know, and they're trying to stay together to give them the numerical advantage that they already have. But you already have it. You can already fight them. Send one over. You've got that extra player. Send them to the other side and flush out the opposition.
Yeah, if anyone's a Golden State Warriors fan, you know that everyone preaches strength in numbers, and that's exactly what we're seeing here from Girlboss. But we actually have Jihui rotating over them to the Master Bedroom, and that can potentially play dividends in terms of isolation. Strona sitting here inside of Statuary just kind of alone, and Tex is able to pick up a kill onto Daddy Satan. So, again, a very good start for Girlboss. That is their first kill of the round. Meanwhile, Strona, she knows that Jihui is trying to open up this triple wall, and that is going to be the biggest point of contention as we head into the latter stages. But Tex is continuing her strong play day, unfortunately just not able to line things up onto Jihui. But Strona, again, in perfect position. She has been one of the most intelligent players inside of Eris, and I think that's going to continue. Do they know that secret is inside of the bathroom? That is the question. Terra is going to begin that sweep, but unfortunately does not check on top of the sink, which means it's down to Jihui. Jihui's going to pick up that kill, though, and with 7 seconds left, it's certainly a possible situation. The peek's going to come through. She knows he's in Statuary. Strona is going to win that gunfight out, though, and Homeland Nova, a very strong defense by them. They're going to take 2 in a row.
Man, what a close situation there, coming down to that 1v1 last few seconds, and they managed to do it. Girlboss did actually make the rotation. They did play 2 players, actually, one through walk-in closet and one through actual master bedroom window, sorry. They put 2 players towards that. I think that was the wrong decision. They really only needed one to get the job done, but it still works out to a degree, but unfortunately that last kill just didn't manage to favor them, and it's a little sad to see that go. But Homeland will go up 1 round, and now we get to see that tertiary objective like I talked about. And seeing from the lineup right now from Girlboss, they in fact have that sledge. There could be a level of verticality to play. I predict Jihui might switch over to another nade person. I mean, we have a Jackal. No, we'll go with a Buck. So they definitely are looking to go for verticality. They're going to start clearing out these floors. I think Chief called it renovation. I like to call it the same thing. You got to just change up the floor plan and redesign this house, and it will have little to no resale value by the end of it, but it's a beautiful area, right? You can just stare at the windows that are somehow still functional after all of this, and the house somehow doesn't fall apart. But I think with the verticality strategy that's seeing less and less limelight when it comes to other scenes, I still think it's plenty viable, especially when the fact that a lot of operators these days, such as Ayana, who's getting a ton more playtime, obviously has nades. Unfortunately for Girlboss, they did not bring extra nades. Instead, they opted to have Terra on that Jackal to watch the rear, as well as being able to flush out some of the roamers that lie for Homeland, because that was a scary problem that occurred at the beginning of last round. Obviously, it occurred in round one. We're trying to flush that out of our memories here, Santos, but unfortunately, the round and scoreboards say otherwise. But Terra was able to deny one, despite playing, an alibi. Sorry, not an alibi. Oh, actually, it is an alibi, right? I'm not dumb, right? Alibi. No, Nomad. I am dumb. And Nomad in finding that first kill. It's not something you necessarily anticipate. It's not an aggressive roam denial operator, and I think Terra is trying to adapt to that to try and figure out what's going to work the best. But they're just going to do the rush, stepping in from Pantry's side. They're going to tease the verticality, but it doesn't even occur, and a Nitro will be tossed. This one does find Jahui and downs Alexis K, but Girlboss will get the defuse down, really trying to plant this and set themselves up for success.
Secret's finding two. She's going insane, but the diffuser will be planted. She didn't know that Daddy Satan had carried it back into the kitchen. Well, she's been felled by Tex, who has been huge inside of this game, currently sitting at 6-1, and it's all down to Terra, who will eventually find Tex, but she has many holes to play around, but unfortunately, her position has just been given away, right? All Homeland have to do is find these peaks, and Secret says, what you can do, I can do better. Goes insane with that shotgun. Down goes Terra. And unfortunately, that rush strat just didn't work from Girlboss. And I'm really surprised to see it because considering, Girlboss was able to find the opening kill in that round, the fact that they weren't able to win it out might be saying a little bit about the team mental. They were saying, hey, let's throw Homeland for a loop. We've been going for these very structured, very time-consuming takes, and Homeland's not going to be ready for it. They're still going to be upstairs doing a little bit of site setup. Unfortunately for Girlboss, just not all of the kills went down, and the anchor play was huge inside of that round down there in the kitchen.
I don't want to say that the round wasn't successful for Girlboss, because I think that's almost cutting them short. They played exceptionally well. The rush was very successful when it came down to it in the end. You get the opening kill, which is something that you drastically needed, and increases your chance of winning rounds by a huge margin. It's just the fact that Homeland have nerves of steel. They were completely unfazed by that. Maybe they panicked for a short moment. You have somebody die that early. It's a little bit of a, what's going on kind of situation. But no, they tuned right back into it, said, no, we're still in this, don't count us out, and they really did. And Girlboss's strategy, they came from a kind of a dual front. They did actually put one through Mimo, coming from that skylight side, I should say, and that's where they found that first kill. And they were able to also come in through Pantry, but they didn't actually clear that Pantry quick enough to my liking to actually have them in on site enough. And that little bit of being able to be slowed down there gave them the opportunity to toss that Nitro, which inevitably ended one's life and actually downed the other. They were not capable of exiting Pantry fast enough, and they were caught in the backs of their feet by that Nitro. And that's where you're going to fall short. Definitely fall short of any level of safety as they were felled, but that's where you'll fall short in rounds. If you lose too many players to something like that, of just the minute detail of that round, it's going to hurt you in the end.
Game is certainly a game of margins, right? 1 millisecond can make a complete difference in how a round is going to go for you. But again, Girlboss, they haven't found a lot of success, unfortunately, in terms of the round count, but we've seen this type of take before, right? Tex is going to be sitting here inside of Trophy, and Alexis K is going to try and slip on through the bathroom. We've seen this time and time again, but Tex, she has the holes, she has the punch holes for the coverage, so it's going to come down to whether or not she's able to pull off this entry. The drone work is coming through, and so are the flashbangs, so a bunch of utility being sort of spread out here trying to take Tex out of this position, but she has Secret for a little bit of coverage from the Trophy side as well, and unfortunately for Tex, that was just an unlucky peek, as she's going to get her head taken off. Secret won't win the swing as well, so such a good start here for Girlboss, but again, like we saw in that last round, the anchor play is still a gigantic X factor for Homeland Nova.
Man, it still doesn't bode well for Homeland at this point. They really did prep themselves to defend fairly well main hall. I mean, they obviously put the shields we talked about prior inside the hallway. Vulcan shields are extremely strong at doing so, and they also, I think they actually rotated that shield in Classical once they realized the direction they were coming from the north side. Say, hey, we can turn this. We don't necessarily have to worry about it in that direction, so that's what they've done. But a great job now by Girlboss. They've got the numbers advantage, start pushing from multiple directions, set up a pincer, and start to capitalize on the situations that Homeland gave you by getting overconfident in that long-range engagement on the roam, and now being able to step forward and play your own game. So that's what they're doing. One person on the outside veranda does give them the option to set up that crossfire, but when you've got really strong agents on the field, I mean, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to work with, but no real way to deny any sort of damaging utility to get rid of the Vulcan shield. Alexis K will find that kill, unfortunately fragged back by Ava, and Jahui is there to be able to step up as well. Dire finds one of the MX4 Storm straight to Lioness, but Jahui will cap it off on this round and give Girlboss their first round win.
I don't really know what Homeland Nova could have done differently, if I'm going to be completely honest with you, Scott.
Not die.
It was just,
yeah.
I mean, well, duh. Come on, Scott.
It's just they overextended on the roam. They weren't prepped for it. I mean, Girlboss knew what they were going to do, and Homeland didn't change anything between, I believe, round 1 and round 4, and that's where they fell apart, because Girlboss can just double peek those angles. The second Alexis K did not lose their life to that initial kill, where Tex was failing to find that kill and they got the lucky flick over, it was over for him in that round. They knew where the last player was going to lie. They're always in that corner, and it was just easy pickings for Girlboss.
100% right. Secret maybe could have won one of those gunfights inside the statuary there, but really that was just kind of a shot in the dark. Maybe you take down one with you and alleviate a tiny bit of that pressure onto your anchor players, but really with Girlboss opening things up onto Tex, that just deletes all of the coverage that Secret had from the master side as well. So again, I don't think Girlboss or Homeland Nova for that matter really changed anything up in that round. That was just gunfights going a different way, Scott.
I think if we're going to see variation of the strategy, obviously a new objective, they're not going to go back to it. They're going to go to, trophy and statue, right? Step back to one of the mainline objectives. I think Girlboss can kind of decide once again to push in from the southern side, because it worked for him, and it really came down to that last 1v1, but I think they need to be a little bit quicker, because in that last 1v1, if you had time, then you could have played that to your level of success you needed, and Jahui could have won that engagement. And yet, 5 seconds on the clock. You have to rush from astronomy to push that objective. And even Homeland's player wasn't really necessarily anticipating where they'd come from. They initially thought they would actually come from hunting and actually try to step in from trophy through that astronomy soft wall. But it was a smarter decision by Jahui not to. But I think for this round, it needs to be a master bedroom push. They can try to turn things up again, change up every single round with a new strategy, and it looks to me that they're doing just that. They're coming in now from this northeast side. They can have a couple players step below towards Laundry, and they'll be able to gain some sightlines from below and use that IQ to their fullest advantage to use that new IQ scanner 2.0 to actually catch them off guard and call out their utility where it may lie and really try to, I guess, cripple some of the opposition's defenses.
You saw Tex on that roam there. She was trying to lurk through library, and then she's trying to catch one of these members of Girlboss off guard, right? You know that the push is usually going to initiate from the kitchen if you are looking at a master bedroom take, but Tex, has she read into the fact that Daddy Satan is sitting right behind this corner? Yes, she has. Those are going to be some of the easiest shots that she will take inside of her lifetime there, Scott, but really good opening kill. You are going to catch that Zofia, so that takes away a little bit of the disruption that Girlboss is potentially going to have at the end of the round, right? The concussion launcher plays so many dividends later on in the round. She also has those explosive impacts available to her if she ever found a need, but obviously that won't be a factor here. Now, all the guns are going to be trained on Tex, which could allow for the rest of Homeland to sort of get aggressive here, but it seems like they're just going to sit pretty inside of the site and wait for Girlboss and play disciplined around these angles.
I'm really waiting for this FO12 to just catch a player off guard. If they step out from that, I mean, it is over. You gotta be wary, though. Sometimes red dots will actually go through some of those wooden panels. They can be a little iffy sometimes. You do have to be occasionally careful. But I think Lioness knows. They're getting live pings. Their fifth player is really calling things out. I don't think Ava is going to be able to escape with it. And Alexis K just says, nah, we'll eat this, take this around, and we'll give ourselves back into this one. Now, tied 4-4 in terms of numbers, but got a player lying down in astronomy. Secret was extremely secret that time around. She'll cap off Alexis K straight to the head. And Strona's actually sitting in the spot where we usually see Secret playing when it comes to that extended roam. Without able to get the entire bit of hard breach, the X-Kairos pellets, one will still go off. Strona's going to be able to deny Terra step out, though, but Lioness from inside Master Bedroom still manages to find one. Jahui shut down now by Tex. A dangerous 1v3. Not much boding well for Lioness, but she's got the guns range. She's got the skill. She can handle the business if it's given to her. She needs to be very wary about long-range opportunities. The Defuser is not in a good spot. Long-range shots coming all the way from Trophy. Will step forward, but the Astronomy player of Dortex finds the kill, finishing off this round and almost finishing off this half now with a very dominant performance from Homeland.
Honestly, this is very far out of what I was expecting out of this matchup. I'm not sure if you saw my prediction, Scott, but I had Girlboss winning this, and well, Homeland are making me eat my words right now. And
we all
it's
make
coming
mistakes.
off. I mean,
I'm kidding. I'm playing.
I accepted this casting job with you, so obviously,
yeah,
obviously
you walked
some
into
mistakes
it.
were made. I mean, you kind of called for me, and I kind of felt obligated there, Scott.
Oh,
no,
wow.
I'm just playing.
I see how it is. I see how it is.
I'm playing, buddy. But I'm playing, buddy. Of course, I love casting with you. Are you gonna cry? Don't
maybe,
cry yet.
maybe I will.
You can cry at the end of our. You can cry at the end of our 2 games, but right now we have some business to talk about. And well, Homeland were playing very well amongst each other, especially when it came down to the execute from Girlboss. It was just a bunch of the crossfires were set up. Right, there were multiple guns trained in every single angle. Whenever they tried to push through the bathroom, it got shut down by Secret that was just prone behind a desk. And well, when they tried to push in through the master doorway, obviously they were able to deal with Ava, but not enough utility existed for them to deal with that long-range gunfight up against Tex. So again, this is just very disciplined play from Homeland Nova, and Girlboss seem to be struggling with just trying to find these isolation picks, and that's something that I really haven't seen from them so far. They usually are pretty good about playing amongst each other, but I'm not seeing a bunch of the utility dumping that I'm used to from Girlboss. So overall, there's a lot of questions about teamwork right now. I'm sure they're going to fix that, especially for their last attacking round, but you can't let this snowball into a 5-1 because that is a lot to overcome.
Yeah, it's a little bit too hefty of odds, but I think the round where we did see Girlboss win, it was because they got that first pick and then they knew where the second was, because Homeland didn't really change their strategy. I think Homeland's going to adapt to that. They're going to realize they can't do the same thing, and you can see it already. Secret's not sitting next to reinforced wall, instead is teasing towards that actual statuette door leading to master bedroom, the same place I believe we saw, Ava last round, when it came to trying to hold that position with that FO12 with the Ella. I mean, it didn't work for them then. I think it has a chance of working now, as long as Alexis K doesn't just pre-toss that nade just like last time. Instead, hopping on top of the bed. This will deny any opportunities for a player down below to toss a nitro. Will keep them alive when the process comes. Gets you a little bit away from the damage, but they're really scared of the player in Trophy, but there is no player in Trophy, and they're not droning as effectively as they need to because Secret is still unknown. And this is going to be a very wild kill if Alexis K does not keep prepared.
Secret is just playing so not scared, but she's playing very slow inside of that corner, right? She's waiting for that perfect opportunity to swing on forward because she knows that she has Tex for a little bit of coverage. Alexis K taking a little bit of damage from Tex, but not the killing shot. And Secret still existing in that position. I'm not sure if Tex knows that someone's going to be sitting behind that Astro desk and Lioness could potentially be caught out, but now all of the guns are trained onto Secret's, well, potential location, and she's sitting right there. That nade we've seen time and time again, and there it goes. Secret and Tex, unfortunately, their stance inside of the opposite part of the map, well, that's been shut down. It's going to come down to the anchors of Homeland.
Yeah, one of the great ways for Girlboss to really capitalize off that round, you realize that, hey, Tex is not moving in that position, knows that they don't need to. There's something up with that. That was a great read there by Alexis K. I'm pretty sure it's because they knew, hey, she's not leaving, and she's in a bad spot. We got her surrounded. She's got to have some support from somewhere. So reads that, knows what they need to do, and capitalizes. And that's all you really have to do here. It's a waiting game. It's a playing game. It's a mind game. Everything that leads up to it. It's a video game, Santos. I don't know if you actually knew that, but it's a very fun affair right now because Homelander still a person down. They have a very dangerous position they need to play in, but they aren't necessarily in a bad spot because you know that Strona can play right here, try to get a couple tags on the Lioness. Unfortunately, didn't cap off enough as they needed, but breaching rounds will be expunged towards that classical hall, maybe trying to catch Ava. There's no shield actually set out for them in that position, so it's not a huge worry. As Homeland have 20 seconds to just hold out. They bought too much time that pregame, Santos. That roaming that was done, they played too slow for Girlboss. They could have played that much sooner, and it's starting to bite them in the rear. They will find one as Daddy Satan steps up to find Ava. Also steps in from the opposing side, does take out Dyer, but Strona's sitting inside Vault. Player coming from the right, and Lioness pounces and eats their prey.
That was just such that was blitz pace from Girl Boss. As soon as all of their team members were just set up in their positions, they said go go go, and that's exactly what they did. Right. Ava, unfortunately, not finding a lot of success on the brown stairs. If they were able to shut down that Sophia that tried to push into sight, that would have been such a game changing kill there for Homeland. But no, well, the Sophia in that situation was just that much better, right? She opened up the frag. She was also able to catch that person sitting inside of the most defensible position inside of Siege, which is behind that bar. So, again, that was just really well played from Girl Boss. They bided their time very well, so that, well, it seemed a little bit rushed, right? You said it yourself, Scott, with the roam game that happened from Homeland Nova on the other side of the map. That definitely threw off Girl Boss's timing just a little bit, but I think that that explosive play is something that Girl Boss are exceptional at. And well, Girl Boss, they cut the bleeding a little bit. They go into their defensive half 4-2.
That's a good split to have for a map like Villa. It's not the best, obviously. It's not the outcome you necessarily want, but that's a great.
I mean, everyone wants a 6-0.
Yeah, let's just 6-0. Why did you take that away from them, Girl Boss? Come on. I mean, you should know that they wanted that. No, honestly, Homeland didn't really have anything they could do in that round. I mean, they were cut. It was a very cut and dry solution. Girl Boss knew what they needed to do once they cut those 4 players. And then the swift rush by Daddy Satan stepping in and taking that red staircase player, stepping in from behind bar and finding a player. It was over, right? Girl Boss just needed to find the last and sprint at them, and they did just that. I mean, you had a double frog. You still had Daddy Satan behind your player Lioness as well. So there was just too many options to contend with. And Homeland just kind of saying, okay, well, we'll head to the next half, I guess, because that round was that was cut and dry. It was set in stone. Nothing we could do. But now they get to try out the attack, and this is the part that I think is going to be the most interesting. Because if you take a look at their lineup, they opted not to bring a sledge. Instead, they're bringing Tex, who's actually opting for that buck for a little bit more of the ranged sort of floor denial and wall denial utility instead of having that hammer up close and personal. But it does also limit you. You gain the range of the skeleton key, but you lose out on the explosive ordnance that are the nades in your pocket.
Maybe you would have brought Sophia in that situation as well, but obviously that is a question for later on whenever these teams are starting to do that VOD review, because Tex, well, she does a very good job on this buck, just eliminating the anchor positions that Girl Boss could be sitting in, but also it's a very dangerous game to play, but Jahui not able to land the shots there. Ava will find that opening kill, and that is a gigantic one there, Scott. You lose your Echo this early on, and really that is just a glorified camera at this point. That is a glorified default, one might even call it, because those yokai is obviously not invisible anymore. That has been a change in the game for a while now, but well, they're not going to be providing too much other than information at this point. They're not going to be able to disrupt the plant, but that still sets up Alexis K for a little bit of success later on. I'm just worried about the lack of manpower that Girl Boss now have.
It's like going from a drone to now being stuck with a GoPro. You've lost that mobility. It's quite unfortunate, but the more damage gets piled on. Tech's able to find one more. Then verticality is definitely being fruitful for them, and usually you can kind of use nades to fulfill that job, and I talked about it earlier, being able to toss nades from the main entrance, catch off a couple of these sedimentary positions that defenders like to stay in. They're pretty tried and true. I mean, it's you know where it's going to be. It's something that you can fire view out. You know where you're going to stand. You know where that happens to be on the first floor, and they're doing a very good job of that. And that's something that is strong. If you're going to bring a buck and you know that, you're probably the best operator choice. And I think that Tex definitely knows where she's going, and it's definitely showing already. But unfortunately, they'll lose one more. Dyer will be taken out now with a 2-6 scoreline. But with the last 38 seconds remaining, Santos, there's got to be a lot that has to be done from Homeland to get onto this floor and actually fight. And Tex is still down below on the first floor.
Yeah, maybe a little bit of time wasting from Tex, but she's going to make her way up to the top floor here very soon. But still, none of the members of Girl Boss have been really expelled from their positions, right? They're still holding strong behind that bar. They also have Lioness that's playing inside of 90, but that's not really mattering, is it? As Daddy Satan will be the first victim to the Homeland Nova gunfire. Secret tries to send it into the site, but unfortunately there's an MX4 waiting on the other side. Ava will get felled as well. Tara, you are absolutely insane, but oh man, I thought she picked up that final kill, but I guess it doesn't matter there, Scott. Tara, she called herself terrible.
That's like, oh, I just about aced. I'm so bad.
That is cap. Scott, that is cap, as the kids would say.
As the kids would say, cap, no kizzy. I don't know. What are the terms people use nowadays? I don't know. That was a round that should have gone to Homeland after their great performance at that start. Don't you agree, Santos? I mean, they 100%. Had that. Yeah, it's just Girlboss and Terra. I mean, they stepped up where they needed to. But unfortunately, Santos, I think you can agree with me as well. You can't rely on miracles every single round. You can't rely on that one player to clutch every situation. It is a best of one, so they only have to worry about playing with full confidence and full focus for so long. But eventually, that player is going to tire out. They're going to lose that mentality, and they're going to start to fall off a little bit. Not a lot, but they can't focus that hard for that long. Eventually that top fragger is going to start slowing down a little bit, and that's when your opponent can start to pounce.
I mean, that's something that I love watching out for whenever I'm watching other games or whenever I'm casting, is that most of the kills, whenever someone has a high kill day, chances are they don't happen on a consistent basis, right? They're not picking up 1 or 2 kills per round. They usually have like a couple explosive rounds. Now, Tex has been consistently great, right? We've been seeing her pick up a bunch of kills every single round. The question is for me, when will that stop? Because Girlboss, well, they've been finding their own wins inside of these rounds. They've taken 2 in a row over the past 2. So I'm thinking, right, when is the magic going to stop? I think Secret has quieted down quite a little bit. I'm expecting that to happen for Tex, right? And for the rest of Homeland Nova, that is the point in time where you say, hey, I've got to step up and be there for my teammates. Otherwise, Girlboss, they're going to continue this comeback.
Yeah, maybe the fear was the fact that Terra was kind of sleeping a little bit before that last round, right? I mean, most of their kills were in that round and really clutched up where they needed to. And that's something that you can kind of be scared of. The fact that there's this, black horse, this dark horse on the opposing side that it's like, we don't know when they're going to pop up. We don't know what they're capable of. And that's something to be scared of as well. I always mention a bit of a raid boss. Someone like Tex would be a raid boss. It's somebody that is difficult. You're scared to face off against them. There's no way you can really handle it alone. And Tex is that raid boss. But now you've got the sleeping giants on the opposing side of Girlboss that Homeland have to be wary of. They have to be scared. And that's something that's going to just continuously drain on the mental of the opposing side. And it's something that would definitely drain on my mental. And my mental's already chalked because, I lost my caster, unfortunately, and now I'm stuck with Santos. Unfortunate, isn't it?
Hey, listen, can you pick one emotion to have about me? Okay, you were excited and now you just absolutely hate me. Like, if you're gonna hate me, then just stick
I love you, man. I love you. I've been waiting so long to do this cast with you.
Do you though? I'm starting to question that quite a little bit. And man, Scott, just a bunch of gunfire being traded between these two teams right now. Lioness just sitting behind this bar. That is a position that everyone loves to sit inside, but unfortunately, Lioness she will eventually be down. I'm not sure if they know that they've gotten the down though, and that could potentially spell a little bit of danger because Girlboss are starting to rotate over. But unfortunately for Daddy Satan, not able to land the shots there, and now they're going to be able to confirm the kill on the Lioness. And it's quite a good start here for Homeland, but we've seen in this game over and over again, Scott, that anchor play, that last raid boss that you were talking about, they've been very hard to dispel.
Yeah, it's very dangerous, especially when you have a Maestro on the board, right? The Alda is something that can just kind of be sprayed and prayed. And that may not be very indicative of skill, but there is a skill behind it. Knowing where to spray and pray is the most important. And Maestro is such an annoying operator to face off against. When me and Fellow always cast together, we love seeing Maestros. We fangirl. We'll DM each other in the middle matches like, Maestro, meatball, he's here. We're all super excited about it. I mean, he's just so much fun to see. And having Jahui on him, man, Jahui, she's a monster in herself. She played exceptionally well in the first half. She hasn't been able to do as much here, but that's not necessarily indicative of her playstyle, and she has plenty of opportunities to get kills now. As 5 players now still remain against their 2, as a nade was able to cap one off of Alexis K with the last 13 seconds. Very dangerous. Nitro is in the hand of Terra, can toss it to get these players out. 2 of them stepping up, but it's not going to be able to go off in time. Dyer finds the kill. Jahui with the Alda does manage to take one, but Ava steps up, finishes off the job. A near flawless round for them, but that round was not close.
Not at all there, Scott. And I'll tell you what happened. They were able to isolate the roamers. They were able to isolate these gunfights. And I hate to sound like a broken record because I have to admit my dictionary in terms of casting isn't that big, but that's exactly what we saw there, Scott. They were able to isolate out. They knew that person that was playing behind that bar inside of that roam. And once they knew they were going to be able to deal with that, they knew that someone would potentially try and go to cover off and prevent that sort of pinch. Daddy Satan was a little bit unlucky in that gunfight that happened on the study door, but still though, from a macro standpoint, Homeland were doing so well at just getting this horizontal take to work. And once that frag grenade really landed through, that was the sort of the beginning of the end there for Girlboss. Julie put up a very what's the word for it? Valiant effort, but unfortunately just a little bit empty at the end.
Yeah, it's almost you know what they say about inertia. An object in motion stays in motion unless acted upon by an outside force. And Homeland had the momentum. They had all of the motion there was. They were swinging every corner, winning every engagement, and there was just no outside force that could stop it. There was one, but it was like dropping a speck of water in an ocean, right? The Alda just wasn't enough to get the job done. There was no position she could take to get it. Jihui was just caught in the wrong place. There was no way to clutch that. It was doomed from essentially that nade, like you talked about, the domino that started the effect, and it was just a spectacular performance there at the end. And I'm curious about whether or not Homeland can continue that momentum. Is there enough inertia behind them to swing themselves forward to take the next two, to clutch it up really easily, or is Girlboss going to be able to keep themselves in this one for just a little bit longer? And I definitely think they're capable of doing so. And I think you can agree, considering you voted for them and predicted them as well. And a lot of people here at Project Eris did. And I don't think that's a shocker to say nonetheless. Girlboss is playing spectacularly. They played spectacularly before, but Homeland seems to have their numbers in a lot of these situations, and Girlboss just needs to start adapting a little bit quicker to get the job done.
Well, if Homeland Nova are able to put this game onto match point, then I'll tell you exactly what's going to go down. That's all of our prediction percentages, right? Because unfortunately, I mean, a lot of us are going to get that wrong, including you, Scott. Okay, I put myself underneath the bus. I'm going to drag you along there with me because you were responsible for this just as much as I was. But we see an early engagement potentially happening. Well, it wasn't even that much of an engagement, right? That was just Sharona pushing up the brown stairs, assuming that library was safe. But unfortunately, Alexis K will go undroned down there, and she'll pick up an easy kill onto the brown stairs. That gets things started off very effectively for Girlboss, who can now sit comfortably inside of these positions, inside of Aviator in games, and they're going to be a tough cookie to crack.
Man, I really need a cookie right now. I haven't eaten, actually. I had a Pop-Tart before this, but I got to use some food, yeah. Lioness finds the kill with the MX4 Storm, does take out Tex. Now Homeland's starting to show a couple of loose ends now in terms of their assault. They've lost Tex on that great entry. They've been playing with the Jackal. Despite being a Jackal, they're still kind of playing as an entry, and that's kind of a devastating loss for them. Same thing with Stroder. You've lost your Ash. The breaching charge is no longer there for you, so they say breaching rounds. And they kind of have to deal with the fact that they only have 2 nades, a couple of flashes, and some Selmas to really work with. They haven't been denying the roam game, and that's something that Secret needs to step up a little bit more on, being able to pace that utility in a little bit more concretely when it comes to, dividing a lot of the defense that Girlboss may be bringing to the table. If you even have to use it aggressively and use it kind of proactively to actually just throw it into sight to hear where the shots are going to come from when they shoot it back out, do that. But Secret needs to pop these these air jabs off, and if they're incapable of doing so, that's going to be a huge loose end when it comes to trying to attack this.
That was a gigantic rotation coming out there from Girlboss, though. They read into the fact that Homeland Nova are going to try and flip the script on this push. They're going to try and send it in through Master, but Girlboss seemed to have read into that perfectly. Unfortunately, well, Terra is losing her safe haven bit by bit as those Selma charges are starting to do their bits on that triple wall. Well, it doesn't matter because Ava's going to be able to find one on the Terra, but Jihui was able to pick up a huge kill onto Dire. That leaves Secret and Ava in a 2v4, and they have a lot of different angles to try and play against. And with Jihui finding that kill onto Secret, this position gets even more dangerous. And Ava almost gets that spray transfer onto Lioness, but no. Girlboss, they're going to live to fight another day. They're going to prevent Homeland Nova from getting onto match point, and really that round couldn't have come any sooner for them, Scott. If they allowed that to get onto match point, I mean, Girlboss is one of these, they're one of the legacy women rosters that are absolutely insane, right? We've been talking about them ever since they were Disrupt way back in the day. But if Homeland Nova were to dispel them in that round, then we're talking upsets right now, Scott. But obviously that wasn't the case.
I think one of the biggest factors we can see is Girlboss in that round did a great job of kind of prodding the open wounds that Homeland had. They knew which operators they killed. They knew who they were losing. They knew who was missing, and that's a great way to divide that. Okay, they have no way they're going to push from this side again. And in fact, we've had about 5 to 6 seconds of silence. It's over on this end. Rotate back to site. Play anchor up. Do what you got to do, even if that is aggressive. Playing next to actual master bedroom wall, lying down to go for a kill. Unfortunately, doesn't work, but still buys time and separates the distance a little bit further when it comes to that clock management. And that's really all they needed to do. Girlboss were very emphatic in that round. They looked spectacular, they played spectacularly, and they read Homeland like a book. And if they're able to keep that up and continue to play like that, then Homeland's going to have to work a lot to get the job done. These last few rounds are going to seem almost impossible from them, but gotta think about this objective nest. Homeland did a spectacular job of taking hold of this. The only huge difference I would say was Terra, who was that decisive maker in that first round of this half, and I don't think that's going to happen again. Terra's been kind of, sleeping a little bit further. She's playing well with her utility, but she hasn't necessarily needed to be that fragger for their side, and she's a sleeping giant. She'll be sitting on side doing what she needs to do, and that's something Homeland still has to be scared of.
I mean, she can just kind of sit there and, browse Twitter, sad girl Terrasec on Twitter and whatnot, because, well, all of the rest of the members of Girlboss have just they've been magical in terms of just shutting down the Homeland attack and really cutting down on that aggression. Also, something that I want to take a look at after the game is, well, Strona's only sitting at 6-4. It's mainly been Tex that's been finding these entry kills. And, well, I was talking about inside of the pregame, maybe we don't see as aggressive of a Strona. Maybe someone else is going to take that mantle, and I think that's been the case so far. But Tex, well, she's been situationally aware. Like, if Homeland Nova end up taking this game, she's going to be the MVP for me, and she's been playing super well inside of these very stressful positions. And, well, we've seen this time and time again, Scott. Tex is going to start just doing a little bit of reconstruction, a little bit of Swiss cheesing underneath, and forcing that Girlboss anchor unit into a little bit of discomfort.
Discomfort's a great way to phrase that. You need to make the other team uncomfortable to stay where they are. That's why anchoring is extremely strong. If you're incapable of forcing and flushing them away to a different direction, then you're probably capable of taking control of the round and actually winning it out. It's going to come down to just gun skills. And I'm sorry to break it to you, they have the advantage. They can sit behind walls. Yeah. They can play the anchor, and you cannot play that way. And that's the team where you see Tex, who's played spectacularly in that first round as well, where you're able to use that buck with a skeleton key, gain sight lines, get rid of some of these shields. You have some extra utility to work with. They're catching off a lot of plays, but you still haven't been able to deny the roam game well enough. And that's very prone right here as we see Alexis K is able to take out the side of Tex. Now you have no way to clear the floorboards from below except for one breaching round to work with. Ava is taking damage as well, and you need those nades to clear out a couple of these shields. And Homeland's kind of looking at the end of a possible round that could, I guess, be swiftly ended before it ever truly started when you're incapable of finding that opening pick.
No one was able to capitalize on that air jab going down from down below. So they know that, well, Alexis K doesn't dare try to rotate up the brown stairs, right? That just seems like a very, death trap sort of way to get yourself back into a man-even sort of situation, right? And we have Terra sitting behind this bar once again, but the crossfire seemed to be established, but that doesn't matter. They weren't expecting that swing out there from Jahui. Jahui is just so aware of every single situation, but not aware of the bullets that were flying into her face. She will get headshotted, and Ava's gone down, and they don't know that Terra is going to swing behind this bar. They know that she plays behind it, but it's such a dynamic position that you can play, and it's all come down to Secret in what is essentially a 1v4, and none of those kills will come on through. And Girlboss, again, they're doing a gigantic, it's been such a gigantic effort from them to stay inside of this matchup right now. And Scott, we have a tie game.
Yeah, we do. I mean, this is definitely Girlboss's game to lose right now. I mean, one round to match point. This round guarantees who hits match point first. And I think we have a very good chance of hitting overtime right now. Girlboss has the momentum, but Homeland can adapt. And that's something that we've seen them do prior, where Girlboss was able to find a few snippets of success in the middle of rounds, and Homeland says, hey, we're still here. Don't forget about us. We're anchoring on site. My name's Tex. I'm really good at the game. And then they swing it back the other way. And I think that's definitely something that's still, probable. And as we head now to the tertiary objective, which I don't think we've seen here in this half when it comes down to Homeland's attack and Girlboss's defense. I think we've kind of been floating around that second floor entirely because it's kind of been a little back and forth in some ways, but you can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think I am. Am I wrong, Sanchez?
No. We've done Aviator twice and Trophy twice.
So yeah, okay. That's what I thought. My brain there for a moment just started to flounder around. But yeah, this objective is something we saw Girlboss attempt to do with a very swift rush, and from the looks of it, Homeland are opting to go for a very heavy, I guess, reinforcement of the second floor, which is none too shocking, but going even as far as to place castle barricades to do that. They want to be able to hold from astronomy and actually be able to stop them from taking control of that skylight hall, the floorboards from below, stop getting some sight lands over on towards the actual side of kitchen. There's a lot of outlets Girlboss is capable of denying and slowing down Homeland out, and that's where they're going to start to find key points to win this round.
I mean, depending on how Homeland Nova want to approach this round two, right? Tex is going to be that VIP for your team. Yes, Dire is important on that AK-12, on that Ace with those Selma charges, but I think Tex, just due to the nature of this site and how much of a difference vertical play can play on this bomb site, I think that Tex is genuinely that person that you need to keep alive most. But Alexis K seems to want to shut that down. She's playing in a very aggressive position that we've seen Secret in time and time again, but she also has an ADS to protect her inside of that position. So she will last just a little bit longer when compared to Secret inside of that place. Question is that will she hold that position very aggressively, or will she play off the back of someone playing inside of Trophy? That seems to be the case as well. We have a member sitting inside of Trophy, but oh my goodness, Jahui with the Nitro Cell, they weren't expecting a Pulse to be brought out, and I love the Pulse pick on this site. That's something that has fallen a little bit out of favor here, Scott, but obviously still paying dividends quite a bit here.
One of the biggest factors you can talk about for now Homeland, who are short of having an Iana, short of a player, is well, you might want to start thinking about how you're going to attack. You've kind of lost that entry-styled role, something that in Valiant we call a duelist, which I think is super fitting for Iana, right? I mean, she really just wants to gun, but it's also true for the opposing side. For a player like Alexis Clay playing the Mozzie, like you spoke right early on, that Roni is just going to fight every situation they can, and it's been working out. Unfortunately, the fight, as soon as I start talking about her, it's going to go the other way, as Dire's able to find that kill, but one was still found the other way. Homeland are now 2 players down, in a bad position. They do know the position of at least 2 of the players on this second floor, but they're incapable of finding the kill because Daddy Satan's doing a great job of sitting behind reinforced wall inside Trophy, doing a great job of keeping themselves alive, and just as I say it, Dire finds a sick kill, but did lose a majority of their HP in the process.
I mean, she's going to hop into the shower and start droning, but she also needs to clean up after that dirty shot onto the player playing inside of Trophy. But with 50 seconds remaining, well, this is a very manageable situation, right? But you have Dire, who is on a limited amount of HP. They're going to have to play this perfectly. Otherwise, Girlboss are going to take yet another round. Secret is going to opt for this rotation down into Laundry, but with Girlboss, well, they're a little bit smarter than that, right? They know that they're going to have to eventually rotate, and they know that their options are limited as time keeps on ticking. Now, both of the players for Homeland Nova have found themselves inside of Laundry, and it's going to come down to whether or not they can just get some nasty picks off of these angles. But it seems like Lioness, well, she's just playing that most aggressive angle onto that spot, and shots are going to ring through, and not find any damage. But the damage has already been done from a mental standpoint, as Jahui will find that kill with the other UMP-45 in that lineup, and Terra will get that finish. Girlboss, they're on match point, and they spent most of this match here, Scott, sitting on the back burner. They've been down for most of this game, but, well, they're taking the lead at the perfect position.
Man, this is spectacular. I'm going to be honest here. I did not expect Girlboss to bring back the comeback this well. I expected a comeback. I expected this game to be close. We called it at the beginning. This was going to be a close game. These two teams were unbridled in terms of their score lines. And right. I said Homeland's going to have to run for their money. They've got this huge round differential that's going to start getting cut down quick. And that's exactly what we're seeing. They might even lose and get some negative rounds here and really start to separate, because this is starting to look like Girlboss supremacy here. And it is definitely ringing true. This next round is going to be very pivotal, not just to be able to bring Homeland into overtime, but to just keep the mental up, because this is going to be a map that it hurts sometimes Divide Review. It hurts for me as a caster sometimes Divide Review. I know I make a mistake somewhere where I just like flubbed a word and I'm like, I don't want to hear it. I know what I did. I'll skip it because I'm like, I remember this. I'm like, oh no, I said the wrong word here, and I'll just like skip it. It's like, I know, I'm right. It's gonna be worse as a player, right? You know every little micro position. You can watch that. You know what's going to happen. You know where you make these mistakes. It's gonna hurt rewatching this. Homeland, they need Divide Review this. Same thing with Girlboss. And when you lose a round that was this close, where you had to lead that much, and it's been so neck and neck the entire time, it's going to be something very painful to look back on.
Yeah, I mean, looking back at your own mistakes is just one of the hardest things that you can do, both as like a content creator, or obviously we're watching some players right now. This is exactly why, Scott, I know you mentioned your casting reel earlier. This is why I can't do
nothing but mistakes in my casting reel. Yeah,
dude, I am so self-critical of myself. It's insane.
I'm the worst too.
Dude, I can't give myself credit for anything, and that's like a very, it's a very screwed up way to think about things, but it's just, that's the way I've been wired. I've expected perfection out of myself.
I love you, Santos.
Hey, man, I love you too, buddy. I love you too, buddy.
But
Oh man, no, we're just buddies, here, Scott. Okay,
Dang.
we can save all of the we can save all of the loving for later. Okay,
All right, later, later,
we are
later.
just friends right now. All right, buddy. But well, I mean, Girl Boss again. They've shown success on this trophy bomb site before, right? They've shown success with getting these takes going, and well, we're seeing a lot of utility that they're going to have to deal with. Right, there's a lot of flashbangs, obviously, on this side of Girl Boss, but also as a response, Homeland have brought the Aruni. They've also brought the Jaeger in Daddy, or well, oh god, I'm getting this backwards. Excuse me, but we're seeing a lot of utility denial from the side of Girl Boss. Right, we've seen this Jaeger. We also see an Aruni, so they're gonna have trouble getting this force to happen horizontally, and that's exactly what we're seeing right now from Homeland. Right, they adjusted. They know that they're going to have to get these picks so that their utility is much more valuable later on in the round. But Girl Boss, again, they can just sit pretty. Tex, we've seen her in this position time and time again, trying to flush out these anchors. But again, as time keeps on ticking, Homeland Nova start running out of options.
You cannot run out of options as well. It's going to be extremely difficult when you start to, nip a lot of the options that are available to you and they start to fall apart straight through your fingertips. It's like trying to pick up water and you leave your fingers open. It's not going to happen. You're not going to get enough done. I got a lot of water references today. The drop in an ocean, things like that. Whatever.
Is
It's
it just
fine,
our
it's fine.
fluidity together?
It's our fluidity together. Yeah. That's what we'll say. Oh, nasty Nitro from below. Terra is able to cap one onto Dire, who's unfortunate feet are leaving no room for mercy. Now, 5v4 set up fairly late, though, because already a minute left in the round, in the game, possibly, if Girlboss could keep up this man advantage, but I think everything's going to start to fall apart a little bit further if Homeland cannot stop nipping some of this damage in the bud.
Alexis K plays that laxing role, that lurk role, much better than really, like, I've seen some amazing plays from Alexis K so far, right? That kill is huge because, well, Tex, she's gone absolutely quiet ever since popping off on that defensive side. And again, this is just the Homeland momentum sort of being shut down because they haven't found a lot of success. And I have to say, within a 5v3, you're not necessarily going to find that here, but they have to try their darndest, don't they? And that's a perfect way to start it off. Jahui's been going off in these recent rounds, but unfortunately no potential for that to happen here. Nitro Cell or something comes through. I'm not exactly sure what, but nonetheless it won't land all of the damage necessary. So it comes down to that P10 Roni once again. Lioness able to find two. No, actually that's a different P10 Roni in the lineup, but Secret will try her damnedest, but unfortunately just a little bit too little too late. And Girl Boss, despite being down for most of that game, if not all of it really up until those last two rounds, well, they're going to come away with that win, and 7-5 scorelines just seems to be the trend for them.
Ooh, can I get a, as we cut back to cameras here, Santos, can I get a What a great map. That was so much fun. When you're talking about a team like that can, manage that comeback and return into that game and is able to keep their mentality high enough to be able to be on that up and up. That's something that's difficult to do. And they kept their priorities straight. They started to fumble a little bit. There was some rounds where we kind of was stuck on the second floor because there was no real decisive victories. It was kind of flopping in one direction or the other. And yet they said, we got this. This is no sweat off our backs. And they did. They capitalized in every round. Their roam game, that late roam game, like you talked about Alexis had, that's something that is very pivotal to a defensive presence. And that's something that they played spectacularly. There was nowhere for Homeland to step up and find themselves any position to start to push themselves onto a site with any sort of advantage. They had to watch their rear too much, and there just wasn't enough flank watch. And that's not because an individual player wasn't doing their job, so to say. It's because the players for Girlboss were just too strong. They were very difficult to face off against. They weren't coming in your expected angles to play. And that's something that Homeland can kind of look back on. They VOD review this and just super deep dive where this player is. Why are they here? Where are they going to? What's their next move? And then they'll be able to play and, play a little bit better in their next matchup.
That's something that comes with the experience from Girlboss, right? Obviously, I talked about how they were ex-Disrupt, and now, they're playing underneath that Girlboss name. But this is a team that's been playing with amongst each other for a very long time now, and I think that experience sort of showed, right? Obviously, Homeland Nova started off the gates quick, but, well, you kind of have to keep that horse going throughout the whole course of the game. But Girlboss just bided their time. They knew that, well, eventually that Homeland Nova, that spark is going to die out, and that's exactly when we're going to take advantage and show you the brand of Siege that we can play. And, well, Girlboss, all they had to do was keep their mental on the up and up there, Scott. And I think that's exactly what we saw there. My mental's up with you, my man. Like it's such a pleasure to have you. And what a way to start the things off, that was a great game for us to start our casting sort of duoship together.
Yeah, next one's out straight to the majors. Nothing else in between. Nothing else straight to the majors. But yeah, it was a great game. I think that was something that was really enjoyable to cast. That was a great first game for me as well, not just with you, but for Project Eris on the main channel. So really excited to see how the next one's going to face off as well. And I think that's going to be another one of these matches that's a bit of a banger, but I don't think it's going to be as much of a banger as this one was for these two teams that were so close as they were at the top of the leaderboards in these matchups. Unfortunately for Homeland, they will now have a loss on their board. And that's going to be something that is going to start to definitely widen that margin from first place as they were in second prior. It's not going to stay that way this time.